Hello and welcome to Reviews. As always, I'm Plume Noir and I'm finally catching up. As you can tell by the spread here, I am back home from my business trip. Actually got home the other day. Got home just in time for a snowstorm, like a record-breaking snowstorm. And yeah, it was trying then, clean up from that, catch up from my trip, catch up at work after being gone for a bit, which is always rough because I lead a team and things kind of fell apart, which is kind of good for the ego, but not so good when you're actually trying to get stuff done. So I am catching up, which is why I'm doing a Saturday thing here. And also to give you an idea, I know the movie's been out for 6 weeks now. I'm actually finally going to go see Joker tonight at like 7 o'clock. I've already got the tickets purchased and it's down to like a 20-seat theater. So I'm going to catch it before it goes away. And I got JR about to walk in the frame here. So I'm catching up here. First off, tonight I'm going to cover Fallen Angels, #1. Now, Fallen Angels was a limited series back in the 80s, starring, I remember Sunspot was on it. He was on the cover after he hurts Cannonball. It talks about how Cannonball and Warlock left the New Mutants for a while, and I remember Boom Boom was in the series. I have kind of a soft spot for Boom Boom. I don't know why. And so, I mean, even when she appeared in Next Wave, I was so happy about that. But anyway, the series was written by Joe Duffy, and to give you an idea, I always say that I judge things by how well I remember them. I don't really remember much of the series. I can go through my long boxes and dig it out, but I'm too lazy to do that. I don't remember really what happened in it. I seem to remember Multiple Man was in it, but I could be mixing it up with another storyline. So anyway, that's a whole long thing. That's what I remember Fallen Angels. I just still remember the first issue cover with Sunspot standing over Cannonball. That's the main thing that comes to mind when I think of that. So when I saw this, of course they have the whole little listing in the back of all the series and where they're going with the storyline. I'm like, oh, Fallen Angels? Why are they bringing that back? Okay, fine. They own the trademark. Let's go ahead and go with it. Now, as you see on the cover, we've got Laura, we've got Cable, which I'm still not a fan of young Cable. Um, I should talk about. I'll talk more about that when I get to X-Men #2. And of course, we have Psylocke. Now, this is not Betsy Braddock. As we know, Betsy is now Captain Britain, which I'm more or less okay with. But I'm one of the small minority. My favorite version of Betsy Braddock is the armor. When she had the purple and pink armor with the cowl and the cape on it. If it's someone who is a telepath and, who is not really physical, she needs more protection, she's going at a distance. I never I never really cared when they made her Psylocke. Um, but as you know, you probably know, this is not Betsy Braddock. This is Kwannon. Oh boy. Um, I don't even know how to describe her character. That was after Claremont was kind of forced off the book or um, off of the X-Men books. Um, Before that, when the X-Men were in Australia, they had the Siege Perilous, and a bunch of the X-Men went through. Betsy Braddock kind of controlled their minds and forced them through, and then she went through herself, turned up in Japan, and now she's in an Asian body, and then Fabian, how do you say his name? I can never say it correctly. Is it Nizena? Anyhow, Fabian. Let's just call him Fabian N. Um, when he took over the writing of X-Men, which was during a really bad period for Marvel, when they had pretty much the sales team controlling everything. Um, Fabian, he's okay, but that period of X-Men was not that good. He introduced Kwannon, who basically had body swapped with Betsy Braddock. So Betsy got her Asian body, and Kwannon got hers. And I'll be honest, I read the book at the time and I did not understand it because it contradicted a lot of stuff. And then they kept trying to fix it, and it just made it worse. Instead of just retconning something, it was really bad. And then so Kwannon, who eventually became Revanche, ended up dying of the legacy virus, and no one missed her. And then just earlier this year, they in the Hunt for Wolverine one of the miniseries, they resurrected her, which is okay, fine. So now that Betsy Braddock is British again, yay, I like that. Um, they had to have Psylocke because Psylocke, especially in this costume and everything, I always admit I like cheesecake. She was a really popular character. She's got a very, you know, uh, interesting, look. She's got a very good look, and I'm not even talking the let's say sensuality of it. It's a very very distinctive look. Although this one, she's got like a huge. I know they're trying to do the perspective, but it just makes her look like she has a huge butt. So anyway, I haven't 6 minutes in. I haven't even talked about this issue yet. Um, because I felt like we really need to talk about the focus of the series, which is Kwannon, the new Psylocke, and how she fits into all this. And I have to admit, I'm kind of impressed. The book opens up with this Asian girl who's got something attached to her head. She puts it on her head, and her eyes start bleeding, and somehow she affects the driver of the bus or whatever they're on, train, to crash. And basically, it looks like they kill everyone. So we got a little child bomb. Now she looks Asian. Huh, what's going on? So Psylocke, Kwannon, she's having these dreams, and a voice speaks to her that, tells her, "You're not dreaming, Psylocke. Listen, these are the most important words you will ever hear. Your enemy is named a pot. You must kill a god. Do not ask my name." And, when Abraham heard the voice of truth, he did not ask, he listened. Okay, so if Kwannon is Japanese, is she in one of the, Christian, Christianity is big in Japan, but, it's kind of weird. But, okay, uh, he raised a knife. I am the truth, and you are not dreaming. You'll wither here, Psylocke, in the bosom of Xavier's peace. Time to take up this war. Okay, so that's what I like about this, because while it was good during the House of M and House of X and Powers of X, I don't like the Krakoa thing. I'm just, I remember when that was really the what brought the new X-Men together. The second class of X-Men. The Wolverine, Colossus, Sunfire, Storm. Um, that was the original villain, and they've come back to Krakoa a few times, Son of Krakoa, but I, it's Krakoa's going to be the new big enemy. It's going to be the reason behind everything going on, and big antagonist, and they'll probably somehow work in Cassandra Nova with that. So I'm just calling that. That's just my theory right now. But what I like about this is that you have all these X-Men. I'm surprised Wolverine isn't, in this. These are X-Men who are the darker ones. They're the X-Force type. They're the killers, the more violent. And they're not enjoying their time on Krakoa. This is not meant for them. And I'm liking that. So Psylocke goes to Magneto, who is in Xavier's, spot running things. Read X-Force #1 to understand why. I'm still calling BS on that. I'm not buying it. And she asks to leave the island. And Magneto says no. Which is weird. If this is a haven, they can't come and go as they please. Well, the reason is obviously what happened at the end of X-Force #1. It's an investigation. Let's just say that. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't read X-Force #1 yet. But Magneto says, well, go see Mr. Sinister. And of course, Psylocke is confused by this. And, she doesn't quite understand the whole. I guess she's never worked in certain places where it's like, officially, I can't tell you you can do this. But if you were going to do this, this is how I'd suggest to do it. Kind of saying off the record unofficially. So she goes to see Sinister, who gives her some advice, tells her who to go see. It seems kind of weird, like he doesn't really offer too much information on what to do. Um, this book is really dark. So she goes to some bonfire they're having, that the mutants are having. It kind of reminds me of that weird scene in, I think, in the second Matrix movie, where they're all dancing and whatever. It just felt really out of place. But X-23 and Cable, they're also not really into, there's some weird flirting, but they're both warriors. This piece is not for them, which again is nice. There's a brief little spot where Psylocke and Captain Britain have a meeting, which I would wish would have been longer, but we'll probably do that later on. And this is how X-23 flirts with Cable. She punches him in the nose. So, isn't X-23, is she bisexual or is she full-on lesbian? I can never remember. I know she was how can I say this? I'll just say she was a sex worker. But I don't know if she actually, I don't remember, I'll be honest. So we go through all this, because this is an oversized issue. Um, we go through kind of all this. It feels like filler, but we need to see how these characters interact. And Psylocke approaches them to basically want to take them on the mission. Um, X-23 says she doesn't want Cable to come along. There's a weird thing here that I want to point out, where she's talking to them, and she says, "You're a soldier and you need a war," and it shows X-23. "You're a predator and you need to hunt." This part felt like it should have been flipped. Cable has always been the soldier. Now, I know Laura has been a child soldier. That's what she was raised to. But it felt more like she should be the predator and, going by, Wolverine clone type thing. But we know Cable was raised to be a soldier. That's all he is. And there is a line in here later where Laura says, "I'll go, Cable stays." And Psylocke says, "You speak for him? I know him. You don't know either of us. He's a soldier. You give him a command and he'll do it. But he needs this place. He deserves this place." So, was this on purpose? Was this to show that Psylocke doesn't quite know them? That she misidentified Laura as being a soldier, but Cable being a predator? I don't know if that's a mistake or if that's on purpose. If it's on purpose, which I kind of doubt, it would be great. I think it would really show how much Psylocke is misjudging them. So I'm going to stop here very shortly as they go to investigate what's going on. They get the information about the kid that blew up the train, and it turns out it's Psylocke's daughter. So yeah, Psylocke just found out that her daughter is basically dead. And so she's given basically the info dump. We're seeing how she knows it's her kid. They're given the butterfly tattoo. Really coincidental because, excuse me, the butterfly comes from Betsy Braddock. That was how her powers manifested, was the butterfly. So kind of coincidental that she would have a purple butterfly tattoo when this would be years before the whole body swap. And then we get the big fight thing. The one thing I will say, I'm going to stop here, but I do want to show something about this. I'm liking this book. I really haven't been too fan of this whole Krakoa thing. I thought that would end after the little 2 mini-series going on. But that seems to be the thing going forward in this storyline. Probably for the next year, I guess. But I like... Normally, I'm not really into all the dark characters. I like it when it's a balance. Because I remember the 90s when they made characters edgy just to be edgy. But this team works well. I really I really like this. I really like the focus on Psylocke, because her character was such a mess before that they had to kill her off with the legacy virus. She just couldn't be saved. It contradicted everything we saw with the Sage Perilous, and just kind of shoehorned her into Psylocke. The body swap was not a bad idea, but the way it was executed and went against what we saw before was not good. This is kind of a clean slate. Let's just not focus on that. Let's focus on the character, and yeah, it's not bad. I'm really enjoying this. It actually got me more interested in the character, and like I said, I read the original issues back when she appeared, and I was reading before that, and I thought, what, this is stupid, but they made me like this character. The art in this is really dark. As you've seen, it's really heavily inked. And I think they might be using the photo reference for some of these pictures. Um, while it works in some scenes, we only have a couple like regularly lit scenes. Um, like, is Magneto just sitting in the dark all the time? And Mr. Sinister, the science, is just has one light in the room so he can be in the double helix thing. The book is overly dark, and at times really works against it. There are some scenes, especially during the fight, where you can't quite tell what's going on. Okay, this is Laura, attacking, and then I guess I gotta stop there. There is another scene in here. Um, yeah, I think it's this scene where you're not quite sure exactly what's going on. Um, So apparently, that's the psionic blade that Psylocke uses going through her. Um, yeah, the art is a little rough at places. You know, yeah, I'm just showing some of this. When they're just sitting around talking, to give mood lighting, it's good. But when they start trying to do action, the bonfire scene was another bad one, where it was okay. That looks kind of cool. Um, I gotta get to it here. I should have put some post-it notes to make it easier to turn to. Um, some things are just kind of murky, and I shouldn't be saying this. Oh, get your eyes shut. I just had an eye appointment today. My eyes are the exact same they've been since I was 19, so it's not me. Um, it's the art's kind of rough, and I think when they're not doing the photo realistic, scenes here, and they have to kind of do stuff like this, it just gets kind of rough. And it's almost like the artist, I'm saying it's a he, I actually don't know who did the art in this book. I did not look that up before I read it. The art is Zyman Kodaransky? I don't even know who that is. Um, yeah, it's a little rough. It's a little too dark, a little too murky, and I feel it shouldn't be. My preference. That's just me. So anyway, X Force number one. Sorry, Fallen Angels number one. I said I liked X Force number one. This is the book of the post Powers and House of X. This is my new favorite book of that. This is the one I liked best. The characters are believable. There's a few things, like I said, the dialogue. I'm not a fan of Teen Cable, but he seems to fit in with what I have been seeing. So, what would I go? I'm 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. I like this book. I'm gonna add this to my pull list. I really enjoyed this, and look at that big booty. Now that I look closely, and anyway, yeah, I'm going to add this to my pull list. I'm interested what they're going to do with the characters. It seems like the whole child bomb thing going on. I don't want to give away the ending. Doesn't look like it's too terribly concerned, but they're still doing the mutants versus human. It doesn't look like it's too connected to the X-Men universe. More just mutants in general. So like, this is a book. If you're not sure, if you're just following X-Men, you'll probably be fine skipping this. But I think you'll enjoy this. I really I will say a little bit of a spoiler. I enjoyed this book better than X-Men #2, and I will, another book that came out this week. I will say that. So, if it was up to me, if I had a choice of only two of the books, Fallen Angels #1 or X-Men #2, I'd go with Fallen Angels #1. So, yeah, I'm catching up. Going to have another video up tonight after I go see the Joker. Finally, I've been busy. Like I said, I don't a business trip I had to take. So, the preparing for that and coming home and cleaning up, and then bloody record-breaking snowstorm. So, anyway, as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a bit.